Well, hello and welcome. We are here for race 6 of season 321-22 of the Zwift Racing League, brought to us by WTRL. I'm Kate Bates, and as usual, I am joined by the Queen herself, the whiteboard queen that is, the fashion police, all of the above, Anna Russell. Anna, this is the last week of regular racing, and I feel like somebody's got a bit of a twisted sense of humour because they're headed to Innsbruck for one jolly big climb.
Jolly big climb. We're talking Queens, we're talking jolly big. I feel like we get a bit of a British theme for this evening. But yes, Innsbruck, off in Austria, where they hit the 2018 UCI World Champs. This is the short course part of it. We'll cut over to Cy Bradley soon and he'll give us a bit of a rundown. But yeah, basically you can see there up on screen a mammoth climb that they've got ahead of them. The women are already out on course, the men are a couple of minutes away, but we'll head over, see what Cy has to say. He's always got a few little nuggets of information coming in, so let's hear from Cy.
Hey Zwifters, welcome to Innsbruck for stage 6, the final stage before we move on to the semi-finals and the finals of the Continental Trophies. 24 kilometres in total, just shy of 500 metres of elevation. So as we roll through this start-finish banner, sadly, you're going to be picking up no power-ups today, but we do have 2 time segments. One 15 to 30-minute climb, dependent on your category, and then one sprint segment right at the end of the course. But first, we're going to take on this, the Innsbruck KQOM. 7.5 kilometre climb. There are places to attack and there are places to sit in the wheels on this climb. But the final 500 metres are fairly flat, so if you've still got some people around you with sprinters' legs, you want to make sure you drop them before this point. First across the line, and the fastest through segment on this climb. We're then going to descend back towards Innsbruck before we hit the leg snap in this 500 metre power climb before we take the right hand turn at the top and head towards that sprint segment. We've then got a short undulating descent towards this sprint segment. First across the line and the fastest through available here. But what I love about this sprint, it's so close to the finish line. So what are these riders going to do? Roll straight over the top and go for those finish line points? Or do you have the strength to pick up the segment and the finish line points? Good luck and ride on.
Okay, look, he describes a climb in a way that I certainly never would. He says there's places to attack, there's places to consolidate. For a lot of the riders, just getting to the top will be the name of the game. And I don't know if you remember watching the World Championships there, Anna, but it was like somebody dropped a goat in the middle of the field and people just went boom everywhere. Like, it was absolutely insane. We have watched this in community leagues before. Similar thing played out. So I reckon that there might be a little bit of action until the base of the climb, and then, you know, it's anybody's business that is willing to give it a bit of a go.
Absolutely. We've got the women out on course, so we'll head down and they are right approaching the base of the climb, as you talked about, seeing some of the fan favourites out there. Henneken, Hense, Semenko, if I'm saying that right, I really hope so. Are we seeing? Yes, Van Rossum. We've actually been having a few chats over Facebook today. She's looking forward to doing some travel around Europe. I said if she was going to come down under, and she actually said, you know, a little bit out of the budget, come all the way over to the side of the world, but she might hop over and see some parts of Europe and see some of her cycling friends that she's met through Zwift. So that'll be awesome.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. And that is a really genuine thing. There's actually a lot of kind of virtual friends being made. I mean, I might add, Anna, I call you the Queen and I love working with you, but we've never actually met in person.
I know.
I have asked you a few times how tall you are, just so that I can get a bit of a gauge. I think we ascertained last week that we're quite different heights. So that could be a little bit funny. Now, which makes us quite different riders, I might add. So I think on a course like this, one of us would enjoy it more than the other. I am the one that would be crying, not you, and not with joy, might I add. Now, the one thing about today's course, which is different to what we have seen in Community League before, Anna, is previously it finished at the top of the climb. We don't have that today. It is the KOM, QOM. Is it about the 11K mark? give or take. The riders will have wanted to warm up very well because for that 7.5K climb, they are already about to hit the bottom of that, which means that even though it is only half the lap where they hit that QOM for the ladies that we are watching at the moment.
We've already got a split, sorry.
It can definitely make or break it, can't it? So we're not thinking like, oh, they'll get back on the descent. It would be unusual if they were able to really significantly make back time that they might lose on this climb. So it is already kind of, on in earnest, and those who have warmed up and are ready to go will definitely benefit.
Yeah, I think so. Talking about warm-ups, what's your warm-up sort of protocol? Mine is almost nothing, and I've found I get really nervous if I get on the trainer too early before a race. So some people on our team get on an hour early, some half an hour early. I kind of like getting on about 5 minutes before, rushing through everything, and then just like turning the legs over for 2 minutes, and then basically doing a really early attack as part of my warm-up. I find if I'm on there too long, I mentally just start to wither and die.
Not to be dramatic or anything, Madam Russell, but wither and die. Look, I have a far more structured warm-up if I would be going into a race at all. And if it was the only time I would ever not really meaningfully warm up is if it would have to be over 2 hours, and then I wouldn't really warm up. But anything under that, I definitely have quite a warm-up protocol that definitely involves some significant efforts of different lengths to really open up the system and try and get everything going, and then enough time to then, calm down, get a drink, have a bit of a stretch. And the warm-up would finish about 15 minutes before the race, and in that 15 minutes, I would just tick it over on the trainer. So the warm-up for me, ideally, would begin about 40 minutes out. But again, people have lives, and if you don't have the bandwidth to do that, then you can certainly smush it into a smaller time. But I definitely wouldn't get on cold for this length race. And I urge you to actually give it a bit of a go. And it might not suit you. Like, everybody's different, right? But I've actually found, and you might find this too, that post-children and the older you get, I actually frustratingly need a lot more warming up. I felt it should work the other way. Like, the older you get, the more Ks you've got in your legs, you should be able to warm up less. But it actually tends to not work quite that way. And again, I would say if you are racing in the morning, a warm-up is beyond critical. I think you're ripping yourself off without a warm-up if you're doing it in the morning. So give it a go, because I'll send you a protocol and you can give it a bit of a go and see the difference. Well, see the difference. I mean, and then you'll know either way, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I think I think if there's a protocol to follow, I think that could be good. Otherwise, I just get on and mindlessly kind of spin the legs and then start getting too nervous. But yeah, I think maybe, I am getting a few in chat saying, 2 minutes is probably not long enough to be warming up for Zwift races.
I don't think 2 minutes even counts as a warm up. I've got to be honest. Can we look at the racing for a second? Because talking about
the racing?
Warm-ups, yeah, I know, the racing. Is that what we're here for? Heavens, we were having a nice little catch up. When you're talking about whether or not you warm up, I'm looking at the women who are less than 5K in, less than 10 minutes in, absolutely blown to pieces, and look at their heart rates. And I'm thinking, how on earth could you do that without a warm up? Your body would be raging. And the same with the men. They're 4K in 5.5 minutes and already on the climb. They are moving. Like, this is a really solid start from the men. Holy moly. Is Mark O'Brien, I need to go into Zwift Power. Is Mark O'Brien there?
Oh, he would have to be there, right?
But well, I don't know. They had Grafton to Inverell in Australia on the weekend, which is Yeah, I don't think it's Australia's oldest bike race. It might be Australia's second oldest. I think maybe Melbourne to Warrnambool's the oldest, but it's a very old classic race. I mean, old and classic enough that my father used to race it.
Oh, love it.
When, you know, back in the day. And yeah, it's a bit of a kind of rite of passage for any road rider. The women finally have their own race, which I'm very happy to say. It goes over a big mountain range, and it's a hardcore race. Like, to say you've won the Grafton to Inverell is like, you know, total honour code there. And so Mark O'Brien was actually racing in real life there, which was good to see. Yeah.
I do want to make a shout.
To delve in and see if he's there.
This is my pick for today. Let's see if I can zoom in. Well, there he is, Sam Hill.
Ooh.
This is my pick for today. I just think I've heard that he is weighing down his front wheel in real life with some 10 kg dumbbells, I think. I just feel like this is his wheelhouse. He's got mid-length socks on though. That's not great, but he's
and a lot of hair. He's turned into a Yeti.
He's turned into a Yeti. I'm not sure on the look, but I think he has got what I would say is the chops for this kind of a course. Just that diesel engine, you know, a really good. I think this would take about 16 minutes, maybe 15. Just to get up this. He's sitting in the pack. He's making use of the draft that Si was talking about, but look how strung out they are looking already. I mean, yeah, this is getting pretty serious with them. We've got attacks off the front, though, already from some NZ Bro riders. Tab along there hitting about 9 watts per kg. It's not going to be an easy climb, but I think Sam Hill is my pick. What do you reckon, Kate?
Well, look, I think so too. Now, he also raced Grafton to Inverell, and he tried his best to get away. He had his breakaway foiled in the end. He wasn't able to get there, but he put absolutely everything out there, and a sensational ride from him. So I reckon he might be, you know, carrying a little bit of fatigue, but obviously very clearly in some form. So this is a course that suits him very well. And dare I say, after the long Grafton to Inverell, this would be quite a nice little jaunt for him. He would have warmed up though. There's my hot tip. I reckon he would have warmed up.
Oh, he totally would have warmed up. We've already got some big attacks. So we're saying tab along there. I said before he went to 9. Now he's going up to 12. This will be a strategy from NZ Bro. I'm interested to actually see what bike choice he has made, because that could be an indication of what this strategy is. He's got the Scott, I believe that could be the foil. Not extremely lightweight wheels. He's got some sort of envies on there. They could be the 5.4s or 7.8s. Not a sort of Millenstein setup. So he may be kind of doing this for his teammates. It'll be interesting to see if his teammates have got more of a lighter setup, maybe the Specialized Atheos. But again, up to 11 watts a kg. What is he doing here? It looks like he's just really trying to put some hurt on early. Not much of a chase happening though.
Yeah, he's giving it a red hot crack. That's what he's doing. And I did just notice Mark O'Brien popped up. Now, he got second on the weekend at Grafton to Inverell. It's a nearly 6-hour race. So just to put a bit of context on the length of that race, it's a very long and hard one. And Mark O'Brien and Sam Hill actually ride for different teams in real life. So I think they'd enjoy being able to come back together in this setting as they both race for Aero in the Zwift world. NZ Bro, they've been animating from the first day they came into these community leagues, Anna, and every week we do see a bit of a pattern. And we can say the same for Aero. Like, we always know that when Mark O'Brien's here, they will attack. If he doesn't, somebody else will. They're always a very aggressive team in terms of their tactics. They're lovely people. They're not aggressive people, but their tactics are certainly aggressive. And it's emerging more and more that NZ Bro are mirroring a bit and starting to see if they can get the early jump. So this is an early hit out to go for Tabalong, but he can do so much damage, and he is. Like, just look at the big gaps that are opening up. There's 4 that are hot on his heels, including Mark O'Brien, I might add. And they're just coming past now.
What's Tabalong doing? He
well,
down to
hold on, Tabalong, yeah. NZ Bro, we need representation in there. So that's a bit of a risk. who's that pushing off the front with a little bit of pace
who
there?
else could it be?
Anna?
Mark
Who's
O'Brien.
that?
There we go. And we've got, do want the chat to come in and tell us maybe who their picks for the 5K Hero Award should go to, because this will be a spicy one to pick that. The women, I just want to show them on screen too. They have shredded that pack size. So they are down to a very small number of riders. Just looks like a lot of AHDRL, a lot of Rave. The TBR ladies just kind of yo-yoing off the back a little bit. That's Kim Kern-Stokes there. She just kind of is making it back up, but yeah, it's slowly dropping back again. Difficult one for the TBR ladies there, but looks like the could be a little bit of a battle between AHDRL and Rave. Might try and get up some of our standings up on screen as well, so we can see just what kind of a close battle we might have going on in this ladies race.
Well, Claudia Henneken, if you recall last week for Rave, they had such a good team's time trial, but Claudia had some tech issues in the gate, didn't she? I know that we don't call it the gate in Zwift, so apologies. The pen, there you go, in the pen. It makes it sound like Animal Farm or something, although I guess it possibly is in some respects, isn't it? And she wasn't able to get out on course with her team, but regardless, Rave had a sensational ride, and I'm really happy to see Claudia Henneken back out there. She is, of course, our ninja warrior of the mob, and after learning that about her, I have been looking at enrolling my kids in a little bit of ninja warrior stuff, because I just think it's super cool.
Yeah.
And if I could reflect back on my career, and I think this would go for a lot of people who were cyclists from when they were young, is I'm a cyclist, like I can do anything in a straight line with my legs, but the minute I try and do anything outside of that, I'm like a baby giraffe or something trying to learn skills. I'm terribly uncoordinated, and so I don't want my children to fall into that same habit. The women appear, Anna, to have actually backed off a little bit, and look, they're not going slow, but they're comfortable, and nobody's really taking responsibility. Can't say the same for the men, who are now ahead of the women on course because they've hit it so hard, even though they started a bit later. And Mark O'Brien is just making them kind of regret their life choices at this point.
Look at this.
So it's a good break for them.
Oh, you've got Lupanetti here from World Elite Zwifters, Tabalong, who was the early firecracker from NZ Bro, Mark O'Brien from Aero, and then Cheong there, who I think is also from World Elite Zwifters. So 2 World Elite Zwifters riders in there. And then you've got a gap down here to Tricino, just dropping off the back, kind of a no man's land, dangerous place to be. He's catching up on the flat, but he drops back on the hill climb. Then you've got Costa, also in no man's land. Then you're back to a little bit of a group with Price attacking off the front. And then this is the main group here. So Haggerty from NZ Bro got Sam Hill. He was my favourite, but I think this is interesting. This is what I was talking to one of my teammates about for the race tomorrow, which is she's probably a bit of a Sam Hill rider. She likes setting into a rhythm, just hitting that rhythm, and it's high. She could ride maybe around 4.8 to 5 for the climb. But then you have people hitting that 11 watt a kg, back down to 2, up to 11, back down to 2. And when we raced against Ashley Millman-Passio on this course at the end of last season in the playoffs, that's how she just demolished the field. One is because, she's a World Tour rider and she's amazing. The second was the way she rode it was so surgy that it just killed the legs behind them.
Yeah, that's something actually we've touched on quite a bit, I feel like, Hannah, is that, and the guy I'm looking at right now who's just dropping off the back just a little bit is John Story, our NZ Bro rider, who, of course, was a world Olympian, world champion rower. Now, for someone like him, he is used to maintaining a little bit more of a diesel and an anaerobic diesel, because it's only a short event. It's not, a 30-minute event, but a very consistent delivery of power and heart rate, and it kind of ramps up. When you get these climbers like Millman-Passio, really dynamic climbers is the word I always use, it is absolute hell, because you're right, it is this on-again, off-again surge, and a lot of people are just not really capable of keeping up with that. I'm one of them. I could actually climb reasonably well at one pace, but the minute it started getting on again, off again, my legs just absolutely couldn't do it. And so it does depend which group you're in. And what you'll often see is a little group like this go off the front, and they're doing a bit of more surgy kind of dynamic climbing. And you might see somebody get dropped. And I'm just going to point out in that one, John's story, but they don't actually lose much time because they just keep going the same pace and they keep kind of trudging up there. And when that leading bunch is in their, ebb and flow of power delivery, they end up just a few seconds behind by the time they go over the top and can often chase back. And so they do need to, like the group at the front, need to also consider who's behind them and making sure they keep that pace high enough to get the big enough gaps. Otherwise, the effort's for nothing, essentially.
Yeah, and if you look as well, though, they're putting a lot of time into these riders. You've got another surge there from Tabalong, and then you've got behind you've got Costa here, unfortunately, just sort of sitting in the middle of nowhere. Also from World Elite Zwifters, though, they're doing amazing. 2 riders at the front, Costa here behind. And then Pack here behind Bleakley, the PC Yoda, he's detached from that group. Now we've just got a lot of riders splitting up that main pack we saw before. I mean, that was a pack of about 18. I mean, it's barely down to anyone now. This is absolutely shredded the field. Sam Hill leading that group ahead. Not such a great move. He's dragging with him a couple of NZ Bro riders. Haggerty here, who's a great sprinter. John Story has dropped well behind the pace, and not a great day on the office for him. But yeah, this is... I think Sam Hill needs to push it up to a higher kind of number and just break away like we've seen here that Bleakley has done. I mean, look at these guys. They're almost cresting up to the top of this climb. You can just see in the mini map on the top right, not very long to go. And it does flatten out a little bit, just a touch at the top. Not right now, they're up to 10% grade. So this is where it's really hurting. But World Elite Zwifters really showing up at the moment. They're sitting in 5th place. So, I mean, they're not gunning for a first or a podium spot here, but yeah, they've come to play.
Yeah, it is an interesting kind of wash up already because World Elite Zwifters are doing a great job. I think that there are a number of riders and a number of teams who have not shone as brightly as they perhaps could just by virtue of the tactics used by Aero and NZ Bro are 2 good examples. And if you look at those league standings, it shows pretty clearly the dominance that those teams have had. But DPAC have sensational talent. World Elite Zwifters, they've got sensational talent as well. And it is very much about countering the aggression coming from Aero and NZ Bro. And almost like it's, to a degree, it's taken 6 weeks into the season, but standing up and going, okay, like, we get it. You've got lots of good riders, but we're no longer going to let you dictate how the race goes. And so I think great attack by Tabalong to start this group, but also then very, very good riding from Lupanetti and Chong in particular. Trissino, such a strong rider as well, to not just let O'Brien sneakily jump across and join Tabalong and all of them be where they've been in weeks previous and be like, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
So they've kind of learned, and that will make, if O'Brien's pushing the pace here, not a
Tabalong not having it though.
Attack, but
this is good. I mean,
they're coming to the KOM.
They've got a lot of points here, so they've got fastest time segment and first across line here. Tabalong going at 11.9, but getting caught here by Cheong from World Elite Zwifters. This is a full-on mano-a-mano battle between the 2 of them. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. This looks great. Looks like Cheong might just have it on the line from Tabalong. Lupanetti coming in, rolling over Mark O'Brien, and Trissino there in 5th, with Costa just sitting back there in 6th, a little bit further back, but he'll be doing well for his team. We'll head over and see what the women are up to, because there is a little bit of a split, or more just sort of riders who've just detached off the back. As you can see here, we've had Fletcher leading it out for AHDRL, and unfortunately we've seen Henneken and Kim Coon-Stokes and Smythe also from Raven Bees. They're just kind of yo-yoing a little bit off the back. Kim's just sitting here with Boyd from Raven Bees on her tail. Yeah, they're getting very close to the top of the climb as well, just before 11 kilometers, so about 1,400 meters to go.
Well, this is the real pinch part, because once you do get through this next 800 or 900 meters, it does flatten out a little bit. And we saw that with the men, like they looked like they were sprinting on almost flat land to get to that KOM. So if you can get through this little section, you know that you'll make it. If somebody is a little bit off the back, Kim is probably the one I'm looking at here. If she can just hang on and minimize that time gap, there is a good chance she will be able to get back over the top, especially if these riders, if they are 5 of them really close together, they likely won't race too hard down the other side of the climb, because it's unlikely that that's where they'll get their big gap. So it's likely that they would be more inclined to get a little bit of recovery and then regroup a bit, which will give some riders the chance to get back on. Now, that being said, what we can see now is these gaps starting to open up and this bunch whittling down even further. There were 5, now they are 4. Fletcher, Henneken, Smith, and Georgia from AHDRL there as well. They're doing a great job of keeping this pace fast enough that everybody is, well, they're kind of dropping like flies, aren't they? Lucy Isdale is trying her absolute darndest to hold on. If she can just push that little bit further and just get that wheel back, it's not too long, Lucy, and then it does tick down. So Georgia Miller from AHDRL is the other Aussie in there, with Sarah Fletcher and Lucy Isdale. And then we've got, of course, Rachel Smith from the Irish rider from Team Rave, and of course Claudia Henneken, our Ninja Warrior from Germany. So this is a pretty good break, but here it is. They're coming into this flatter section and the sprint here. Again, those points are on the line. So who's going to chase aggressively after the points?
Could be a
Georgia Miller's on the move.
Between Henneken and Georgia is coming through about 7.4 watts per kg. Henneken just behind. Looks like Georgia is going to take it out. And Lucy, she's just appeared out of nowhere. She was dropping off the back there, yo-yoing. She comes over for 3rd. That was pretty good from Lucy, actually. I thought she was a goner, but there we go. And she does have her update that she gives me each week around what the cocktail of choice is. So let's see what she said. Lucy Isdale has said that they're on the Austrian mountains. Yes, they are. They have a Sound of Music theme happening. And their Sound of Music inspired cocktail is cognac, elderflower schnapps, honey, lemon juice, black walnut bitters. There are these drinks I have never heard of. Shaken and poured into a coupe glass, topped with a fennel flower garnish. I honestly want her to open a bar, and I want to go there because these cocktails each week sound unbelievable.
They do. Indeed they do. And I'm laughing also that you're like, I've never heard of it. Have you never heard of cognac?
I've heard of cognac. I haven't heard of black walnut bitters. Have you heard of that?
Oh, right. Okay. No, I will say no, because that is the truth. But I was concerned you'd never heard of cognac.
Oh, no. I've heard of cognac.
Sounds like you're going to get a care package.
Yes.
And we are not too far away from the fellas from our 5K to go hero. So we're going to have to start taking a good eye at what's going on in this break. Now, it looks like Tricino has been distanced over the top there because we did cut away from them as they were sprinting to that line. So they were 5, they are now 4. Both screens, both the men and the women, have whittled it down to 4. This is a really great race. This is more competitive than we've seen in earlier weeks and on the hardest course of the whole thing. So
I know.
A little bit of tenacity showing, and I'm also going to point out no bike changes this weekend because it's all on tarmac. So I think thank goodness.
And I do want to call out a couple of things. One is Tricino here. Be careful when you go over the top. He was in this main group when he went over the top. It is flat, but it is so easy to get dropped if people push the flat part. And while we're watching the women, that's what this group did. They crossed over the banner and then they just pushed it and dropped Tricino. So beware of that for your upcoming races. Do not just pull off the gas entirely. You've got to stay with that group. But there is another call out I want to make. Mark O'Brien on a disc wheel has been coming into chat. So he is on a super speedy setup. They've got a sprint coming up. So to stay up with a disc wheel as well against 2 Trons and a climbing setup, I mean, he's looking very good for the sprint and the finish line. So huge points there. I mean, we've got 1 NZ Bro, 1 Aero, and then 2 World Elite Zwifters. Great for World Elite Zwifters. They're just going to mop up a whole lot of sprint points and finish line points because it's only 4 people. I mean, we're looking here at a main pack behind of, 45 seconds back.
Well, this is an interesting one because it's a dynamic they're not necessarily used to having with that kind of Rich Law. We love Rich. Sprint and tuck, baby. He sounds like he's having a little bit too much fun at this point in the race. I would have thought that there'd be a little bit more heavy breathing going on, although going down the hill, there'd be a little bit of sweet relief, wouldn't there? Now, this is the second group we are looking at that you were just mentioning that does have our PC Yoda in there, Aaron Bleakley, and NZ Bro representing this week. They're just doing a sensational job, aren't they? What's going to happen in this lead group through here, Anna? Because it's downhill flat. Tricino stuck in the middle in no man's land.
No, not
13 seconds ahead of him, 13 seconds behind him. What does he do? Does he sit up, get a little bit of rest and respite, or does he think perhaps that he can get back on? Because there is another little kicker before the finish, so it's not dead flat.
They've got the lead snapper coming up, and I'd say because he's riding at 5.5 watts per kg, he's trying to catch this group in front, so he's not sitting up at all. He's 13 seconds back. It might be a hard ask, but he could do it over the leg snapper, which is coming up relatively shortly. They're going to kind of head through these city streets, cross over the bridge, go up the leg snapper, which is about a 40 or 50 second power effort. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these riders try and get away, especially in the small groups. It's easy to get away. And then what will happen is they'll come straight down for the sprint, and then they've got about 2 kilometers to go till they hit the finish line. So we'll follow the men now because it's getting into some spicy areas. On the women's side, though, they're about 16 kilometers in, so they've got a little bit further to go. There's only 3 in that front group. They crested with 4. So Lucy, unfortunately, just got to say, Lucy from TBR has completely fallen off the pace from the 3 in front, which is really unfortunate because she's such a good sprinter. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe a dropout or something, but yeah, no longer in that front group.
Yeah, that is interesting because you would have thought if she could grovel enough over the top that she would have had a little bit of ability to recover over the top. So I wonder if something has happened there because Lucy is one of our most solid performers, very consistent, very good sprint. And if she could survive over there, it would have been a great finish for her. So it may just be that she blew a foo-foo valve today, Anna. Sometimes you do the effort to go over the top and you just have nothing left at all. And we can see from the men, they are starting to fox a little bit because they do go up the leg breaker, which is what they're on the bottom of right now.
Yeah.
This is tougher than it looks. You always get about 100 meters from the top and think, I went too early. And that hairpin that we can see on that small map, that is the top.
Yeah, so there are O'Brien, of course, going out to the front. I almost kind of don't want to split away from here, but I will just do a quick... And we will, better go back to the racing. I'll take that off. There we go. So,
alrighty.
Do you know what? I'm going to get sappy. I'm going to give the 5K to go Hero Award to just the Zwift community. This is the last race of the regular season, and we're seeing 4 great races here. We've got 3 great races in the women's race coming through, and just it has been amazing. I mean, this has been we're almost coming up 2 years now from when we first started doing this. I love it, the excitement level each week when we hit Tuesday night commentary and then racing on Wednesday for me, and going through the whole days. It's just been a whole load of fun, and it's just growing and growing, and the stories that are coming out are awesome. So 5K hero is to you, the community.
Oh, I love that, and I endorse that wholeheartedly. And as we've joked about in weeks prior, I don't get a lot of say in the 5K hero, and I'm okay with that. It's more of a dictatorship than a democracy here in APAC community leagues. But I love it, and I agree. We've had the most sensational racing across all of the different leagues here, and it's been really great to see some new names pop up, but also to see some of the Prem League riders drop back to the community leagues, which has been sensational, and not have it all their way, but to be pushed all the way by some of the up-and-coming stars, which has been fantastic. Mark O'Brien has certainly not made that easy for anyone.
They're hitting the sprint here, yeah, and looks like Mark O'Brien, he went early with that disc wheel. Doesn't look like the NZ Bro riders are really in it at all. It's between Mark O'Brien and Lupanetti, though they have gone early. I'm saying that, though, and see Tabalong coming through now. He's got a great kick on him, but Cheong here, whoa, that is phenomenal from Cheong coming through in front of Tabalong. Huge kick to the line there. That was big, big orange numbers. The women are still a little bit away from the leg snipper. We will come back to them, but these guys are so close to the finish of the race. We'll just stay here. Will he kick on? Tabalong getting dropped off a little bit through that surge. I'll see if I can pick up a quick replay of that sprint, because that was quite interesting how Mark O'Brien went very, very early. Looking through at this, a little bit too early, I'd say. And I thought Tabalong and Cheong were just out of the game. But you can see the orange numbers coming in now, coming from the back. They're not even in screen at this moment. They've started the sprint. And then they come right on through just with 200 meters to go. Perfect timing. Tabalong looking great. He's mopping up a huge amount of points from NZ Bro. And Cheong there, whoa, massive. Just 12.8 watts per kg there. Absolutely crushed it.
I do tend to think that there's a bit of bragging rights in the final kind of ordinary season race for who crosses the finish line first. So not just who gets the most points, because technically they are the winner and their team is the winner, but just to be able to cross the line first in the last race of the season. You can't go past that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the men here are about to finish this race. This has gone extremely fast. We're looking at under 34 minutes here coming through to the end. So very, very quick racing. Cheong took it out in that sprint. Has he burnt too many matches leading into this last finish line? This is always a tough one to time, I find, because it's so easy to go early. Do want to note on the left-hand side of the screen that Haggerty actually took out the fastest time segment by quite a lot from NZ Bro over Cheong there. So Cheong was first across line, but Haggerty taking the fastest time segment there. And that's what we're going to find with a lot of the sprinters who just really crumbled on the climb are going to approach that sprint very, very seriously and try and get those fast time segments. Lupanetti opening up early with a 16 watt per kg sprint. Is this too early? He's jumped the others. Look at that gap. I think he's going to take this all the way to the line. Looks like Tabalong kind of coming up. Mark O'Brien, not really the high enough watts here. Tabalong crossing over at 15.4. They're not going to catch him. Lupanetti timing there, coming around in first. It looks like Tabalong in second, with Cheong in third and Mark O'Brien in fourth. Wow, Mark O'Brien's a diesel, maybe not so much of a sprinter there. We will head over to the women's race though, as they have just crested the leg snapper, and it looks as though Henneken, she has gone off on her own. 10 seconds ahead.
Well, she's making up. If you recall, she kind of burst onto the scene early in the season where she didn't use a bike change, where all of the other riders did, and she managed to still climb with them. And that was of note to us. We were like, oh, this girl's something. And very impressed. She has continued to impress this whole season. I'm really pleased to see Rave in the mix this season, and what they've brought a great team to it. I feel like she's got a lot more to give, and she's still just really learning the art of Zwift racing. And so it's quite cool to see her tenacity. Really great place on the course to give it a bit of an attack too. But in saying that, she's got to hold on to this, because Smith has been riding really strong all day, and Georgia Miller as well. And if they can get together and roll a bit of turns, they may, and here they are together, they may have a chance of clawing some of them back. But it's been a pretty tough day for all of them. Lucy Isdale, unfortunately, never made it back.
She might be going for fastest time segment. I do want to pop back to her when we get to that point, because we will have Heineken here. She'll take first across line fairly easily. The other two, she's already crossed the sprint line, so she's easily going to take first across line. It'll be a little battle here between Smith and Georgia, but I will be interested to see here whether the likes of Lucy, Kim Kearns-Stokes, Fletcher, whether they'll start to work as a pack and just get that fastest time segment. Georgia opening it up to take it out over Smith, so she'll be taking second across the line. And before we get to the finish, I will just see if we can drop back. I don't want to miss the finish, but I do want to see the likes of Lucy and whether they will sprint for these points. I would absolutely have to say they'll go for it. And it'll be interesting to see on the left-hand side of the screen, because we'll see the fastest times there, whether someone from this group is going to take over Georgia, who did get that over Heineken. So Heineken just rolled through for the first across line, didn't go for the fastest time.
Well, if she can push to the end, I think that's probably the most important point. Lucy, you're right. You're spot on here. Reading some minds tonight. Look at her go through this. We will see very quickly whether, if we just look at that box on the
fastest
left,
time.
and
here we go.
Wow, not by a small margin, I might say. And look at the different 5 seconds there already made up on Heineken just in that sprint. Nice work, Lucy. So Lucy will definitely, I think, take the points out here for the overall if she can finish in 4th place here. But again, I reckon there's some bragging rights to going across the line first. And it's one of those quirks, I reckon, with this style of racing, is that we keep saying it's a points race. We keep talking about all the different ways to get points and what the best strategy is. But at the end of the day, we call who goes across the line. And more than that, we even then show their name on the finish board of who's gone across the line first. They're technically not even the race winner.
Exactly, yeah.
But they're the first across the line at the finish. It's a bit of a quirk.
Yeah, exactly. And I have realised I've been so excited with the racing. I haven't shown what has been happening with these segments. So let's pull these up quickly. And Miller here. That was interesting. Maybe there was a first fastest time segment on the climb. That's a rider that I didn't even see through that whole race. So that's interesting. Heineken there. Lucy, like we've seen, doing very well with her points as well, sitting in 3rd. And Smith there, also great day for her with Fletcher there, and Kearns-Stokes in 6th. So yeah, a bit different there. I wonder who Miller is. That's an interesting one.
No, Miller, that's Georgia. She's the one sitting.
Georgia. Gotcha. She's in 2nd.
Right. Yeah, and it is a little bit of a quirk sometimes when their screen name doesn't match their Zwift power name. And so that can throw everybody out a little bit. I wonder if they do that on purpose. It would be smart to do on purpose, just quietly. Your brain doesn't work exceptionally well when the blood flow is going elsewhere. Claudia Heineken will take the win here. Sensational ride from her. And again, we say take the win, but what we mean is the first across the line. So let's see how she goes overall. But Georgia Miller, I'm going to say that she will likely get that overall.
Oh, that was close.
She did get it, though. I think she came in there. As we come back a little bit, we have seen Lucy Isdale. She's been having a great ride, albeit possibly a little bit tougher than she wanted, and she's kind of thrown her hands in the air. She's given up at this point. Kimberly Kearns-Stokes, her teammate, is up there. Looks like she may take those points. No, she's sitting in 3rd there. She's got Sharon Fletcher ahead of her, as well as Sarah Fletcher and Sharon Boyd going across the line there. Kim coming in just behind there in the end. Rachel Smith was the one in the middle behind Heineken and Georgia Miller. So Georgia Miller, what a great ride from her. She's kind of played the game, hasn't she?
Yeah, that was amazing. Oh, you've got your pen. I don't have mine.
Yeah, I do. I've got my pen because I've been trying to figure out the whole time who is where. We will take a look at those boards when they come up, the results boards.
Come in. Let me get this cranking
so
we can have a look.
Those. All right, what a great way to finish the ordinary season here. So we do have a couple of weeks of racing coming up. We'll talk about that in a minute just before we go. But let's look at these A results as they come up. Mirko Lupinetti from the World Elite Zwifters, the Sharks. He took the first over the line at the end with Kenneth Chong, his teammate, in second. What a great way to finish the season for those guys. Tabalong, who was the aggressor from the get-go, and if we were going to have a 5K hero, I'd have to say it was him, just for forcing that move very early on the climb. Mark O'Brien coming in fourth. Ivan Tricino almost hung on from the Peter Z Vivador A's. He got jettisoned a bit toward the end, but great ride from him. Rogerio Costa, another World Elite Zwifter, coming in sixth. Three in the top six. Massive show from them. Josh Hegarty and Corby Price from NZ Frodo in 7th and 8th. Fabian Duvola, better known for his sprinting, really, from APAC Elite. Great ride from him to get over the climb with the likes of Sam Hill. Sam Hill coming in 10th. I think O'Brien and Hill are from their second and third at the Grafton to Inverell, probably carrying a little bit of heavy legs tonight. But I'm personally really pumped that they're on their bikes and racing here. It would be easy not to and to be taking a bit of recovery, but I'm glad they're committed to the team and to this series. So a great top 10, very fitting of what we've seen in the season to date.
Absolutely. And we don't usually go through the other categories, but if they have finished, let's have a look. Yes, I will just talk through some of the B cats. We'll see if the C is indeed finished. Just being the last race of the regular season. Remember, though, we do have some stuff coming up next week, but we'll talk through that. Scott Chamberlain in first for TBR and Hugo Hinkfuss from TBR too. So they're looking great in first and second. Cameron Josie from Aerodynamics. Beepo Wallace from NZ Bro Urukai. Ilya Lesniak from HDR Ballers. Ben Milne from NZ Bro Urukai. Clinton Leong from WMZ Boom, and then Ben Lewis from WMZ Bumble, Stephen Hands from the NZ Bro Urukais, and Miranda Griffiths from Aero One. See if any of the C's are finished. Doesn't look like it. But you can head to the WTRL.racing for the rest of the men's results, and we'll see if we can now get the women up on the screen.
Yeah, it is a tough day for some of the categories, and they do start at slightly different times and finish across. So those results will be up at WTRL Racing for everybody to check out, which is always good to do at this point of the season. Let's take a look at the women. What a great ride from these ladies tonight, in particular, Claudia Henneken. Absolutely sensational ride from her to win solo from the Raven Bees. Georgia Miller from AHWL Bullets. Looks to me like a bit of a dead heat there. There must be into the thousands or the hundreds or thousands there to differentiate those. Georgia Miller in second, Rachel Smith in third for the Raven Bees. Sharon Boyd came in fourth for the Raven Bees. Kimberly Kern-Stokes, she had a great ride to push on a bit toward the end because she was struggling a bit early. In fifth, Sarah Fletch coming in sixth. Lucy Esdale, we talked about her a fair bit, coming in seventh. We are still waiting for the rest of that field to finish as well. So, Anna, I'm going to say that we probably don't have the C's and D's yet. Would that be fair?
That would be correct. It looks like even the B's haven't quite finished yet. So Lucy was that last result there. But yeah, just head to WTRL Racing. You'll see them all. It was a long time on that climb for some of the riders, so I'm not surprised that we're still awaiting some of those ladies to cross the finish line.
Yeah, that is right. So as we mentioned, this is the last regular season. Of course, APAC kicks off this week. So we do finish at America West tomorrow around, it's in about 18 hours time. So for anybody who wants to watch everything in between and be part of it as well. Then next week, Anna, we do head to the regional finals. So if you do head to WTRL.racing, you can see all of the details around that. Now, the normal season won't be back until September. So shock horror. I don't know what you and I are going to do on our Tuesday nights, Anna.
Oh, I know.
We're going to have
Sleep?
to, like get a life or see what's on the TV, figure it out. Maybe Netflix if anybody has some good tips for us.
Absolutely.
But yeah, jump on to WTRL.racing to join all of the action. Of course, keep following on all of the socials and also on Facebook. And from me to you, Anna, and to the whole community, thank you very much for joining us for this season. It has been an absolute blast. I have loved seeing a lot of the riders and the teams develop. And we will see you over the playoffs or technically the regional finals. And we look forward to seeing you next season. Have a good night.